Now Snowball will read Charwich-Koniinge Letters, Volume 3. The Charwich-Koniinge Letters, Book 3. Is it Volume 3 or Book 3? 13 Last Seed, 3E 411, Wayrest High Rock. My dear Koniinge, please forgive the quality of the handwriting on this note, but I have not long to live. I can only reply in detail to one part of your letter, and that is that I fear Balasur, contrary to what you've heard, is very much real. Had he been but a figment of that caretaker's imagination, I would not be feeling life ebb from me as I write this. Lady Morling has sent for healers, but I know they won't arrive in time. I just need to explain what happened so that you'll understand, and then all my affairs in this world will be ended. The one advantage of my condition is that I must be brief without my habitually ornamental descriptions of people and places. I know that you will appreciate that at least. Snowball says the ornamentally was kind of a little extra. So maybe you kind of could have left that out. It started when I came to Wayrest, and though my friend Lady Morling and her court connections was introduced to Balasur himself, I had to proceed carefully, not wanting him to know of our designs on Azura's star, which I presumed he possessed, given to him by his servant Hadwaf Neathware. His function in Queen Elisana's court seemed to be decorative, like so many of his courtiers, and it was not hard to differentiate myself from the others when we began conversing on the school of mysticism. Many of the other hangers-on at the palace can speak eloquently on the subject of the magical arts, but it seemed that only he and I had the deep knowledge of the craft. Many of the noblemen or adventurer who aren't mages by profession learn a spell or two from the useful schools of restoration or destruction. I told Balasur quite truthfully that I had never learned any of that. Oh, but I wish I knew some of the healing spells of the School of Restoration now. But that I had developed some small skill in mysticism, not enough to be a Psijic, of course, but in telekinesis, password, and spell reflection. I had some amateur ability. He responded with compliments, which allowed me to segue into the topic of another spell of mysticism, the soul trap. I told him I was unlearned but curious about that spell, and very naturally and comfortably I was able to bring up the subject of Azura's star, the endless well for souls. Imagine how I had to hold back my excitement when he leaned in and whispered to me, "If that interests you, come to Clythe's Cairn west of the city. Clythe's Cairn west of the city tomorrow night." I couldn't sleep at all. The only thing I could think of was how I would get the star, and when he showed it to me, I still knew so little about Balasur, his past, his power, but the opportunity was too great to let pass. Still, I must admit that I held hopes that you would arrive as you threatened you might in your letter. So I might have someone of physical strength to aid me in my adventure. I am growing weaker and weaker as I write this, so I must proceed with the basic facts. I went to the crypt the following night, and Balasur led me through the maze of it to the repository where he kept the star. We were taking talking quite casually, and as you've so often said, it seemed an excellent time for an ambush. I grabbed the star and unsheathed my blade in what I felt was amazing speed. He turned to me, and I was suddenly felt that I was moving like a snail. In a flash, Balasur changed his form and became his true self. Not man or mer, but Daedra. A colossal Daedra lord who swiped back the star from my grasp and laughed at my sword as it thudded against his impenetrable hide. I knew I had been beaten, and I threw myself towards the corridor. A blue flash of energy coursed through me, flung by Balasur's claws at once. I began to feel death. You feel death? Okay. He could have smote me with 1,000 spells, but he chose the one where I could lie down and suffer and hear him laugh, at the very least. I did not give him that pleasure. Already struck, it was too late for me to cast a counterspell of mysticism, one to dispel the magicka, reflect it, or absorb it as my own. One to dispel the magicka, reflect it, or absorb it as my own. But I did still know how to teleport myself. What mystics term recall? To whatever place I had last set a spiritual anchor. I confess that at the time I didn't remember where that would be. Perhaps in Bothrain, when I arrived in Iliac Bay, or in Cambria, or in Grimtree Garden, where I met the caretaker, or my hostess' palace in Wayrest. I prayed that I had not set the anchor last when I was with you in Morrowind, for it said that if the distance is too great, one can be caught between dimensions. Still, I was willing to take that chance, rather than being the plaything of Balasur. I cast the spell and found myself back on the doorstep of Lady Morling's palace. To be out of the crypt and away from the Daedra was a relief, but I had so hoped that I had been smart enough to cast an anchor near a mage's guild or a temple where I could find a healer. Instead, knowing I was too weak to walk far, I beat on the door and was taken here, where I write this letter lying in my bed. As I wrote these words, dear Elisabetta, Lady Morling came in, quite tearfully and frantic, to tell me the healer should be here within but a few minutes. But I will be dead ere they arrive. I know these are last words. Dear friends, stay away from this cursed place. Your friend, Charwich. You couldn't get Charwich on this page. Bethesda, you're getting lazy. Have a good day. Bye-bye.